Firstly and foremost, can I welcome all our residents and our officers who've taken the time to come to this evening's meeting to discuss various issues that affect Cranford and Heston. I hope you've had an opportunity to have a drink or two at the back there and the samosas and pakoras, and you're fully satiated. So we're going to start the meeting, and first and foremost, I move to agenda item number 1. So are there any apologies for absence?
Shivraj Giriwal is off. His apology, please.
Got it?
Sure.
Councillor Vikram Gariwal,
Councillor Shantanu Rajwat, apology as well.
Councillor Rajawat, he's given his apologies. Please sit down. And any other apologies? Okay, that's fine. Any declaration of interests? None? Or are there any other communications from members present? Okay, that's fine. We're now going to move to a very vital topic for our area. Agenda item 2 is a police report, and we have with us today Acting Sergeant Imran Malik, who would make the presentation.
Is that better? There we go. Good evening all. My name is Imran Malik. I'm an acting sergeant for the Heston area, 3 Heston wards, Heston East, Central and West. I've been in here in this post since March this year, and continuing until the new sergeant comes in middle to end of August. I've been in the police now since 2009, working in various different areas across different strands. So here I am today for Heston. So I shall start with Heston East. So Heston East has 3 officers, so PC Khan, PC Sellers and PCSO Benyon, who are the dedicated officers for that specific ward. Obviously myself supervising, and the inspector for the area is Anil Sharma, and Acting Inspector Mike Binns covers obviously all of the areas, all the different neighbourhood areas for the Hounslow Borough. So for Heston East, ward priorities from the most recent ward panel. So number 1, residential burglaries. Mostly Eaton Avenue, Lambton Avenue, Heston Road, Neville Close. So in terms of the neighbourhood team, so high visibility patrols, crime prevention, and then obviously working with all the other units in the Met Police, including the burglary robbery team, to locating the offenders. Most of the offenders that commit burglaries do come into the borough. Not many of them actually are within our Heston areas and burgle within our areas, if that makes sense. So of course part and parcel of that is obviously gathering, sharing information, intelligence, and then the follow-up visits to any victims of burglary, to offer them crime prevention advice and try and see if there's anything else that can reassure them to better enforce their property. The second priority was aimed towards youth violence. Okay, so obviously youth violence is a common problem across the whole of London, particularly Heston Farm Estate, Clovelly Road, and the alleyway that links Lambton Park and the Great West Road. That sort of alleyway there that leads in between. There's been lots of engagement with local youths in schools, school visits, and part and parcel of that is safeguarding interventions with those that are identified as needing that extra guidance and direction to try and divert them away from getting involved in youth violence to begin with. Weapon sweeps we've been doing across different estates and parks, stop and searches, patrols around the school times, and obviously the high visibility patrols that the neighbourhood teams always do. And then the third priority is violence against women and girls. Priorities have been Lambton Park, Heston Road, Spring Grove Road. So part and parcel of that has been the walk and talks that I've been doing across the Met, and then engagement with different residents to tackle local concerns. Where's it gone? And linking in, obviously, with the CCTV team and to increase some of our CCTV capabilities from the council there, working together with them. There's been quite a few arrests for domestic violence, domestic abusers, and although domestic calls do fall to the response teams, our officers still go to calls when they come out. Obviously, if you're right around the corner, you're always going to go there and do your best to solve the situation. So again, working with lots of different other departments, safeguarding, to tackle those types of issues. So moving on to the You Said We Did. So in terms of the burglaries, so in the recent ward panel, local residents highlighted burglary was obviously a concern. The panel members were promised that would make every effort within the capabilities to patrol residential areas and obviously deterring criminal activity. We haven't had a dramatic increase or spate of residential burglaries for the Heston East area, but there have been, I think in the month of June, there's been 2 burglaries, and obviously they've been followed up with reassurance visits, neighbour inquiries, etc., see if anybody's seen anything, and any intel gathering that obviously, of course, gets shared with other police forces, depending on where we think these offenders are coming in from. In terms of youth violence, this was also brought up and discussed at the board panel. Includes youths carrying knives, hiding in certain parts of the Heston Farm estate. We've managed to intervene early with an escalating issue between some youths, which has hopefully those interventions have stemmed that from escalating further. Excuse me. We've attended, obviously we go to youths' homes, engage with the school, because it's not just police cannot just solve this. It's got to be from all different partners and parents and everybody working together to get something like that under control. So teachers, housing officers, anybody that could be involved. In terms of priority number 3, so violence against women and girls, it's obviously a Met Police-wide commitment to tackle VOG, and there's obviously been numerous arrests for these types of offences, and proactively patrolling the open parks, open spaces. As the weather gets warmer, you tend to see more incidents happen in the open areas, in the open parks, which obviously we want to be able to try and nip in the bud before things escalate. In terms of the stats for crimes for Heston East, so between the April to June, crime as a whole is down 16.8% for Heston East, but is 2.6% higher than the same time last year, if that makes sense. Okay, next ward panel will be the 23rd of August for the next ward panel, which is normally at Heston School, which is for Heston East. Right. Heston Central. Heston Central, 2 officers. So PC Bonampalam and PSSO Martin Stone. She's been there for many, many years. She's very experienced. She knows exactly what she's doing. And we are still one more short for that particular ward. So I think there's an uplift of officers coming up that we've been told by our bosses over the next few months. So we're looking to get some more officers in there. In terms of priorities, so violence was priority number 1, and in particular tackling VOG. again, very similar types of approaches to Heston East. So continuing working alongside the other wards and other partners, engage with women and girls, walk and talks, and the same sort of things that I've said. So I don't want to repeat the same things over and over again, because I know how hot it is in here, so I won't take it too long. Number 2, traffic issues around schools, such as speeding and parking around the roads that outside of schools and leading up to schools. Engaging with parents around the school about road safety and parking around school roads. There's been some work with we see traffic wardens as well. We kind of do a two-pronged approach to this. And ultimately, people do get issued with fines for certain driving offences, traffic offences. That seems to have an effect. Generally, when there's a uniform presence outside of school, everybody seems to drive and park quite reasonably, funny enough. And of course, when we're not there, that's when the parking issues and traffic issues return. So that's an ongoing thing. I think every primary school, every primary school in general, I think has the same kind of issues when it comes to that. And priority number 3, antisocial behaviour, drugs, drinking and noise issues. So obviously continuing patrolling areas where there's the higher reports of drug and drink, noise, ASB, nighttime issues, mostly around Harris Close and Heston Park are the main ones. Obviously Lambton Park is part of a border of that, and obviously all the Heston teams work together, so we do flex between the 2 parks and all the teams across their different shifts. And then priority number 4 is burglaries, combating burglary attempts, giving residents advice and guidance about how to safeguard yourself as best you can from potentially being a target of burglary, and patrolling the areas that are of higher risk of burglary and attempts, giving leaflet drops, community engagement events to discuss ways of combating and try and prevent these burglary attempts. Excuse me. Right, so moving on to you said we did part of the report, so April to June. Again, violence against women, very similar. Walk and talks been conducted around Heston Park in particular, and conducted multiple community engagement events across Heston Central, including youth engagement at St Paul's Church on Fridays at 7 p.m, where they've been speaking to groups of youths that attend every Friday. And obviously to do that, they normally change their shifts out voluntarily to try and accommodate that and go to those events. So I'm appreciative for the officers for doing that. It's given great visibility in the community for that, and it's allowed them to engage with a lot of different people. They continue in tackling violence against women and girls. The team have participated in what's called Operation Sceptre, which is mainly focused around knife crime and reduction of knife crime and violence. And it's resulted in the team conducting weapon sweeps around Heston Central, including the parks and the main estates. Multiple coffee mornings, coffee with a cop events that engage with local residents. And that's a good way of discovering different problems and how we can manage them going forward, just getting people out there. The food bank is obviously quite a key one as well. Nicola goes there every Wednesday. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where numbers have increased with the rising cost of living, and obviously that does provide an opportunity to engage with lots of different people and members of the public. In terms of Heston Central, so crime stats for Heston Central from April to June, at beginning of June this year, has shown a 51.3% increase in crime as a whole, but a reduction from last year, which is 1.2% less from the same period of last year.
Can you explain?
Sure.
Please? It doesn't make sense.
Which bit, sorry?
Well, how can you have more crime and yet the stats go down?
So it's increased for that period. So from the shorter period between April to June, the crime has increased from the previous couple of months, or the reported crime. but comparing that to the same crime stats from the same period from last year is down 1.2%. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. So the next ward panel meeting is the date is to be set, and that will be on the Safer Neighbourhood website, which obviously you put your postcode in, it tells you where it is, and that's going to be set within the next couple of weeks. They've recently just had one, so it's going to be the next few weeks. Right. Moving on to Heston West. So 2 officers for Heston West. Excuse me. So PC Reid and PCSO Mikovic, and they have been on the team since the beginning of this year, both of them. And so ward priorities for Heston West include, again, very similar, is violence. So tackling violence against women and girls and violent offences in general in Heston West, with targeted patrols in the crime hotspots. Priority 2 is drugs. So one of the ward priorities is to tackle drug dealing and or use in areas such as Cranford Way, Cranford Lane, Brabazon Estate, and obviously those roads that lead off the main estates that lead off of Cranford Lane. And priority number 3 is ASB in the Heston West estates in general. Okay, so that's ensuring officers are patrolling the main estates of Heston West high visibility, including the Brabazon Roads estate, Norman Crescent, Harlett Gardens, Convent Way, and Northfield Road, all those estates there. Long and short is trying to prevent violent crime and give reassurance to local residents that we are, as a neighbourhood team, here and out and about. So actions from that. So Heston West team have been getting to terms, since they've come in post, the 2 officers, getting to terms with what the local problems are and how we can create that and move forward and carry on with increase in better community engagement. So the Brabazon Road Community Centre, they've been doing coffee with the cop there, and attending all the street parties and everything that's been going on, so all the different community events that have been advertised, they've been going to and just trying to engage with people and get their names out there. Across Heston West, they've been conducting obviously high visibility patrols. I have had them out doing some plainclothes covert patrols as well, because obviously you're not going to, well, hopefully you don't see them when they're plainclothes, because it kind of defeats the object, but particularly in hotspot areas for crime activity, and obviously long-standing issues in regard to neighbourhood disputes and general ASB within the Heston West area. They've also been, I think, because of the Heston West estate seems to be more estates than some of the other wards. So there's been a lot of linking in with the other teams, like the council funded police team, when it comes to conducting closure orders and dealing with those sort of problem tenants in the different estates. And then I think the local council have been involved in trying to improve the alleyway between Norman Crescent and Bath Road, which comes out of the BP garage. There's been obviously a lot of ASB there and drug use, which has been something that's been ongoing for quite a while, so it's a continuous thing, especially as the weather gets better and people stay out longer. So you said we did. Continuing in tackling violence against women and girls. Again, very similar in terms of participating in OPSEPTA, walk and talks, and reducing knife crime and violence, resulting in the team doing different weapon sweeps across all the different estates, including like the Bullsbridge estate, where Tesco's is, along the canal, where there's been some issues around there. Obviously multiple coffee with a cop events at the Brabazon Community Centre. Residents have been engaging with our officers there and discovering just different problems and working out how we can manage them and deal with them going forward. There was a rise in overnight theft from motor vehicles, and we'd also organised a joint operation with UK Immigration, again the council funded teams, transport teams, traffic teams, which was yesterday actually, which resulted in 11 arrests. 4 vehicles were seized and multiple traffic tickets issued for different things along Hayes Road in Southall, which is kind of a link road between all the 3 different boroughs. You've got the Parkway. It's a very sort of busy area. So that's... and then moving on to the crime stats for Heston West. So again, same time period as I discussed before, April to beginning of June. Rise of 15%, which is a 1.1% increase from the same time last year. Next ward panel would be the...
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Right.
Councillor Malik, we're nearing the end of the presentation, so if you can just hold on for a moment, please.
Next ward panel will be the 10th of August for Heston West, and the venue is to be confirmed of that, but obviously that will be on our website, on the Met Police website, when exactly and where that will be. Obviously this is Heston and Cranford Community Forum, so although I don't cover the Cranford area, there's been Acting Sergeant Andrew Davis, who's been covering Cranford and 2 of the other Hounslow wards in the interim, and there's a new sergeant that starts Monday who's going to be covering that area, Sergeant Mafimi. 2 officers for there, so PC Doherty and PCSO Gruel, and they've been in place working for Cranford. Priorities for Cranford include tackling violence against women and girls, tackling antisocial behaviour issues, street drinking, drug-related crime in certain hotspots around Cranford, and community engagement and high-vis patrols to offer reassurance to the community is the 3rd priority. So the team is greatly reduced in numbers, primarily due to staff moves and where people have moved on to different departments or have been moved, and that's particularly in relation to what's called Operation Stabilise, where the emergency response teams have been short of numbers and some people have been moved to try and bolster their numbers. Prior to that, Cranford had been concentrating the efforts on the highest harm areas of Cranford and working and linking in with local business owners to try and reduce the level of ASB. It's priority primarily alcohol and drug related, working with the partners as well. So PC Doherty, he carries on, he continues with that, and trying to do his best to curb the street drinkers around Cranford, particularly around Bath Road, Way Avenue, those sort of that little area there. Because of the reduction in numbers, so officers from other wards have also been helping out to bolster the Cranford area, but where officers from Hounslow West and Hounslow Heath haven't had as many officers for the past couple of months, they've obviously everybody's been working together to try and help out each other. So again, very similar types of things, high visibility patrols around hotspots, including Martindale Road, Cambridge Close has been some of the main issues, and Cranford remain responsible for and any crime reports for any antisocial behaviour, and that continues to go on, that they work on. Priority 3 is primarily has taken a back seat in favour of priority 1 and 2, just because they are carry a higher risk than the last one. But crime prevention advice is obviously all being sent over the social media and OWL and everything as well. So you said we did for Cranford. Last month has been busy for the team. Several high-profile incidents taking place on the borough, and the King's coronation has obviously taken some officers away from usual duties, and obviously that goes for all of the neighbourhood teams across the whole of the Met, to be honest. Cranford, they've been doing some weapon sweeps across the different priority areas like the parks, and they've also been having surgeries on Cranford ward and assisting with some of the coffee with a cop events, and obviously all the neighbourhood officers have been getting together and working together for that. So this report is slightly different to mine. In terms of the crimes, it is a reduction. I'm just trying to see where the percentage has gone on this particular one. So I think that's a reduction of 15%. It's on a graph here rather than labelled individually, so it's a bit harder for me to decipher. But the next ward panel is in August, and again the date will be set and advertised on the website closer to the time. So that concludes the 4 reports.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, thank you very much, Sergeant Malik. So firstly, I'd like to ask members if there are any questions, and then I'll open it out to the residents. So members only first. Councillor Karamat Malik.
I'd like to ask Sergeant Imran. Page 23 is item number 7 for the petition. If you have a read, what's the update on that? And secondly, when was the panel meeting was held with the councillors, Heston West Ward? I've been in that position for the last 1 year. I have been speaking to your commander a few times, and also spoken to the superintendent as well. I've been you will get update, we'll get update, or we never heard anything. And that's the first time you said we got 2 PCS, or I don't even know if we have any PC dedicated to us in Heston West Ward.
Yeah, so Heston West, there doesn't seem, from the officers that were there before, there doesn't seem to be, they've moved on, one has retired from the, not retired, but has left the Met Police, and the information about who has been attending the ward panels hasn't been passed on, unfortunately. So we've set a new time, a new date to have an area foreman, and hopefully anybody that wants to come along to try and get that restarted again, because it seems to have kind of died for Heston West, and we really want to see that back, like the other wards do. So please do come to the next one. If there are any Heston West residents, please do come to the next one, because we want to build that back up again and try and get something established, because it seems to have died a bit for Heston West. Yeah.
Do you send an invite to the councillors, Heston West Board, for the panel meeting?
There will be, yeah, we can send an invite out to, I mean, it's on our website. Obviously, I've just confirmed the date. I'll confirm it again quickly, which is August the 10th, off the top of my head, 10th of August. We'll confirm the venue closer to the time as well, but obviously that will all be on the website, and I'll send it all to the councillors for your attendance. That'll be great.
Okay, also the item number 7 on page 23. What's the update on that? CCTV, and we were having a lot of break-in in Holy Farm Road and Ringway Estate, and a lot of people have been, their livelihoods gone, the vehicle had been taken away, and the petition was given to the council. Now I'm looking at it on this one, is saying they are asking update from the police what's going to happen, and nothing else. It's just going on for the last 7 months. Okay. We'd like to know what's the update on this, please.
Let me just have a quick look at that one, because I haven't had sight of this one.
I think it might be fair to allow Sergeant Malik to have a look at the minutes of the meeting that we had previously, so he can update himself. But in the meantime, I would ask members to have the questions related to police issues now, and in terms of what happened in the previous meeting, we'll pick that up towards the end of the agenda, where we'll have matters arising from the previous meeting. So please, questions about what the presentation has just been given to you as much as possible. So any other members have any other questions? Failing that, I'm going to open it up to the public, and I know that gentleman over there on the left has a question.
Thank you. It's my first meeting here, but I have been writing to the leader of the council, Shantanu, and I'm a bit disappointed that he's not here, because the police report we got, I haven't raised any issues on that, but in the Brabazon estate, which you brushed over, there's more crime, in my opinion, there. And the figures that were highlighted, I can't remember any of them. There's an increase here and a decrease there. And to somebody to present those figures in item 2, with 6 more to come, I rest my case. It's not a true picture.
Thank you for your presentation. It was interesting, and I don't envy your job at all. So I just want to say, so I live on the Brabazon Road estate. This is more to do with right opposite the Brabazon Road shops. Just lately, while the weather's been warm, we do have a lot of men kind of hanging around drinking on the green right opposite the shops. Now, I've got nothing to say about that in terms of people do, if you live in a flat, want to go out and have a drink, fine. What I do want to say is, how do we work as a community group, a council, and with the police to help what happens afterwards is all their smashed bottles, all the everything, all the rubbish that they leave right opposite the Brabazon Road shops, and it's every night at the moment. I walked down there last night, there was 15 of them sort of drinking, and they never pick up anything. And it's difficult, I know it's not the hugest police issue, but it's horrible for the residents, particularly when we're kind of walking our dogs and we've got to put, there's broken, most of the time they chuck all their bottles and everything. And I just wonder what we can do as a community council and with the police and work together. If you've got any ideas, please let us know.
Yeah, thank you. I know the bit you mean, just where that little green is. It's kind of in between Cranford Lane and then the slip road where the shops are. So yeah, please do keep. Have you been able to report that?
I haven't reported that because it was kind of increased as the weather's got better. Sorry, did you hear that?
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it kind of links in with a lot of those sort of summertime problems where people do go out and drink more and stay out later and can't handle their booze. But please do keep reporting it and report it if you haven't, because if it doesn't get reported, we don't know it's happening. And if we don't know it's happening, we can't direct any resources towards that. So, for example, we've not only obviously we have the neighbourhood teams, but the council have an enforcement team that can deal with these types of things. We've got the council-funded police team that also tackle these types of issues. So it's kind of all of us working a bit together there. But yeah, please do report it. Because I say, if it doesn't get reported, we can't get that information and that intel picture in to say, so I can say to the bosses, we've got a problem here, I need to get some more resources for that. And without those stats, the Commissioner now is very driven by evidence-based policing and crime stats. So if those stats aren't there, then I always struggle to have that argument that I need some resources for something, because they'll say, well, what's going on? Where's the figures to support that? So yeah, please do report it. 101 is a non-emergency number. Obviously 999 if you can see a crime that's happening now. But yeah, no, having a drink on a green is fine, but not when it comes to the point where you're just leaving stuff all over the place, and that's when it becomes antisocial. So yeah.
Based on the antisocial issues as well, as the officers have told you in terms of the policing side, definitely residents are encouraged to report incidents so that a database or a pattern can emerge and where they can allocate resources accordingly. On the council side, same thing. Do bring this matter to the attention of your local ward councillors so they can flag it up and we can pick up any antisocial issues that might arise from that issue. Clearly, we'd like to catch the culprits that are doing it, but I think at this stage it seems like an exercise in after the event of tidying up all the time, but that's where we are at the moment. Right, so I've got a gentleman over there.
Hi, yeah, I just want to say, I'm Anthony from Heston Farm Estate, so I actually want to say thank you for the interventions that you have put in place, because it has made a difference. For the kids playing in the park, how they are. You after the intervention that PC can't put in on that particular case, great job. So there is some positive to this. But the other thing, though, is about the searching. I believe that me and Mr. Councillor Lau also did say about the searching out, doing like stop and searches outside the school, and maybe about the detector thing. Yeah. About you pick a school, different areas, and you do that. And we also asked another question, which was about having a chance for kids to be able to put, if they have a knife, to be able to put it into the boxes inside a school that the school could and they would be able to maintain. Can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, so in terms of, I think it's the knife arch is what you were referring to, wasn't it? Yeah, we were discussing at the thing. So the knife arches at schools are the officers that take the lead on that are the schools officers. So they're the ones that work with the schools and put that in place. I think they did one actually here last month, I think it was. So yeah, I could find out some more information from the schools officer on how they get on with those types of things. Sorry? On OWL, yeah, we could put it on OWL, yeah. Yeah, we'll find out a bit more information and stick it on OWL. But yeah, doing a knife arch at a school obviously requires the cooperation with the school. We can't just turn up and say, oh, we're doing one. We really need the...
Where Councillor Councillor Lau was the one who actually come out and said about doing that. Has that made a change? Would you say that will make changes? If you pick Kingsley, then you pick, say, Heston, and you do these Lambton as a rotation? Obviously not the same way, but yeah. Can you confirm on that? Sorry.
How do you mean? If
that would make that would make a big change, wouldn't it? Because obviously that would deter kids taking knives to school, being around and so on. And I believe also you said that you were stopping middle-aged men hanging around outside schools like Heston, Lambton and so on as well. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't see that in this presentation. That is something quite serious. Can you just add to that in this meeting here?
Yeah,
sorry.
I mean, we don't get that very often where we have sort of people hanging around where they're not parents of the school and those types of issues. Good thing is we don't have that very often, but obviously when it comes out generally, most of the time you hear a call that will come out where somebody's reported it, whether it's the school themselves or another parent has noted somebody's been acting a bit strange and what they're doing there. And then whether that's neighbourhood teams, whether they're on duty and nearby, or more often than not, it's the response teams that will normally come out as an emergency call, something like that. And they'll get there and find out who it is, what they're doing, what they're up to, why they're here. And if there are grounds for a stop and search, and obviously they might conduct that, depends on the situation. But yeah, so we do get calls like that occasionally, but thankfully not very often.
Just to, so I've got a gentleman over there and then a lady over there. But just to finish off on what's been discussed, at the last Heston East Ward panel meeting, I think what we were heading towards was trying to get some action from the police. I know resources are limited, but in terms of engagement with youth at an early age, so it's that Bobby on the beat again. That in their mindset at an early age, having somebody in authority popping up at youth clubs, at schools, etc., and just the Met upping their game in that sense, that you're a regular presence in society to protect society. That's all it was about.
Yeah, I think I remember the days when there used to be a schools officer based in the actual school, and that was something that I think worked better. But then over the years, as cuts have come about, that hasn't been possible, which is a shame, because that was really having somebody based in the school was all the kids knew who their school's police officer was. They could go to him for any problems, and it did make a difference. I know they're trying to increase the amount of schools officers they have. But the problem is every department is trying to increase the officers that they need. Neighbourhoods, we want more officers. Our superintendent is fighting. So anybody that transferred to the borough is now coming to neighbourhoods. And but then response team also need officers. Burglary team need officers. So we're all kind of in the same boat in a way. But thankfully, the commissioner has put neighbourhoods as a highest priority. And he wants to see an increase in neighbourhood teams. So thankfully, that support is coming. It's obviously going to take time. It's not just going to happen overnight, but we are. I'm looking forward to getting some more officers for our wards. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Philip Rosser from Heston Action Group. What I want to talk about is really a continuation of what you've just been referring to. clearly there's always a need for more resources. But what I'm concerned about and interested in is partnership. How do we develop partnership between the variety of groups that exist in this room and throughout the borough? I've been impressed recently. I live in Dorset Way, and there's been a cooperation between the school, the residents and the police about increasing the surveillance and reduction of nuisance traffic at school times. And that's worked very well so far. That's a good example of partnership, working together in that regard. You mentioned just now working with some youth facilities. I'm not sure how many youth facilities exist anymore. So fantastic for the church that's doing it. But I'd like to see, if you would, whilst your presentation is fine and we get an overview of what's going on, why can't we have a discussion perhaps next time about how we're managing partnership? Because you're not going to get that many resources. The council's not going to get that many resources as we go forward. So it must be, how do we work together? And from our point of view, from a conservation community action group, that's what we've been very appreciative of. We've worked together with the council to move things forward. We're all volunteers. And money is available, not from the council only, but the council has been extremely helpful in helping us get the community garden, which we run, established. But we've got money from elsewhere as well as the support of volunteers that are providing their time, their resource to help us move forward. That's been about partnership. So I'd like to hear more in a future forum about how we are working together. Not just that you need to provide more resources. Of course you do. Fantastic. You know, where's the billionaire that's going to come and give it to us? It doesn't exist. But what does exist is the cooperation and the partnership between all of us. The police have to rely upon the community. We've known that since, you know, the peelers were in existence 300 years ago, or however long it was. It's about partnership. How do we work together? Not more resources. Of course, resources would be great. But how do we work together? What are you doing from your side? What's the council doing from its side? What are the community groups doing to work together to make this happen? Thank you.
Hi.
Are you an officer?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Fazana Wangde. I'm the operational manager for the Safer Communities team. We've got a presence here, and our patch officer for Heston is present. And we're really interested in everything you've said so far. We know that the way forward is that we can have better partnerships with the communities. So your officer is Kim Carradise. She's here this evening, and please, make contact, and we'd love to take this discussion further.
Hi, thank you. A little bit off the track for what you're talking about. This weekend, I believe it is, you've got the Jam Divert concert being held here, which has caused no end of problems, and residents tried to fight against having it. Policing last year was diabolical. When police were asked to come out, we've got videos of female police officer saying, deal with it yourself, remove yourself from the car and driving away. When there's antisocial behaviour, people having sex on the estate, you've got people throwing stuff, there was a stabbing on the estate as well. Are you going to be putting police in the area for this weekend?
So I know from, because our operations has told me about this the other day, for this particular event, they have got extra resources specifically for that event. So officers aren't deployed into the venue because that's down to the actual organisers to have their security and manage their event. Obviously, if it does go to the point where officers do need to go inside, then obviously there is a dedicated team for that. And if more resources are needed, then obviously that goes through operations, and they will direct what resources are needed. So, in answer to your question, yes, there are more police specifically for that event.
Last time, one of your officers was asked for advice, and she literally told the neighbour to grow a pair and deal with it, and she drove off and left us.
Okay, I think it's quite clear that clearly there was dissatisfaction at the last time.
It wasn't dissatisfaction. We were left high and dry and the police would not turn up.
Okay, thank you.
They've been refused their licence for this year and yet your licensing people are letting them go ahead again this year. And yet they've been refused it for this year.
Okay, sir, thank you for your comments. Next question.
Thank you, Sarge, about your figure about the crime. First of all, I'm going to say about neighborhood team patrol. I can see in this year there's very less patrol in Cranford. The reason is this issue been raised about multiple times. With the foot, they can't do much area covered. And we raised this issue so many times to provide the vehicle to neighborhood team. And it's been ignored by the council and ignored by the police as well. Thank you very much, both of them. Secondly, about this event, I'm going to raise this. This case going to the consultation this year. We haven't received any consultation about allow this event for is coming up on this weekend. Okay. I was affected with this particular event. Someone done the shit in my driveway. I've still got the CCTV. And there was opposite my house, there was in the green area, they was having sex. And myself called the police about 10 times. And police didn't turn up. That's why we are busy somewhere else last year. And I was trying to stop this situation. And thank you for Cranford Action Group. After this event, they do cleaning up for at least 2 weeks for that shit. Where people left this rubbish, bottles, everything on the street. About your figure in crimes of reduction, I don't agree with that. The reason is less petrol, less stop and search, and less arrest. That's why your figure is showing less. If you go more petrol, you're going to stop more people, you're going to arrest more people, and your figure will be way higher. And the Way Avenue reported about, I would say, about 200 times. People come, police officer, they don't say anything, people disappear. When the police goes, the people come back again. I'm the regular visitors to the way up at the park, you know. The family can't actually go to the park. We can go straight now from here. No 1, 2, but 10 to 20 people drinking in that park. And obviously, they don't have respect for the families. So please, if you could do something, will be appreciated as a Cranford resident. Thank you.
So is it Avenue Park you're referring to? Yeah.
There's no solution, Sarge, about the foot patrol. You have to provide the vehicle to...
Yeah, I think the with the neighbourhoods... Yeah, with neighbourhoods at the moment, so for vehicles is always an issue for us. So we have a neighbourhood vehicle at the moment which is hydrogen powered. Unfortunately, that hydrogen is a dying breed of technology. So it's not the best vehicle in the world, and we do try and get extra resources when it comes to fleet.
If the council is interested, they can allocate some funding. Okay,
Mr. Butt, please. We have limited time at this meeting to cover all the topics on the agenda. So I think we've given a fair amount of time to the policing issues. Some of the questions you're asking, we could have picked up under any other business in the open forum, but clearly I'd like to use the time that we had for particular questions regarding the police report. We've erred a little bit, but I've allowed it to carry on, but I'm not going to allow it any further. So we're going to now curtail this conversation. If you've got any other policing matters in your locality, the first port of call is always your local Safe and name teams and your local councillors. But we're going to move on from the agenda now, unless somebody has a really burning question only, to the police officer present. Go on, one last question.
Very quick. Let me give you the mic, sir. Very quick, the figures that have been presented in pages 3 to 11, have not been explained properly. All the questions raised are legitimate ones, but nobody has answered them. I live on the Brabazon estate, and it's a disgrace. This pop concert last year, there was litter for the next day, which we had to clear up manually and voluntarily.
Okay, thank you for that.
It's up to the council to stop the licence for it, because we're fed up with it. You want to live in there,
And we're going to now move on to the next item on the agenda.
stop giving them the licence.
And before I do that,
And if you're going to, right, and if you go and police it a bit better, it's no good you just driving away saying get on with it. We have to put up with their cars parked across our driveways and everything. They don't care about the local community at all. So, but it's up to you people to care about us and what we have to put up with on that day that you give a licence to do it. We're prisoners in our own home for that weekend. Sorry.
Listen, can you just please just get back onto the meeting, because I would really like you to just move on.
Next item, move on.
please, if I can indulge you a little bit further, please let us move on to the next item on the agenda, and maybe we can pick up some of these issues in the open forum if we have time at this rate. Okay, coming on to back to the agenda, further items for consideration. Under agenda item number 3, we have an officer's presentation regarding Thriving Communities Fund presentation. So could I ask the officers to step forward?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle Hutchinson. I'm one of the Thriving Communities grant managers, and I will be talking to you about our Thriving Communities Fund. And I've spoken to many people here already this evening, which has been lovely, gathering ideas of what you want in the community. So with our Thriving Communities Fund, which is open to groups of residents, small groups, non-profit, community and voluntary organisations, we have 4 pots of funding available. So we have our Your Neighbourhood grant, which is linked to your ward councillors. So they can apply for up to £3,000 per ward or £1,000 per councillor to support a lasting legacy within the community. We have our small grants, which is up to £1,000. That's for groups of residents or small organisations or charities to run maybe small events, activities, gardening projects, and so on. We have our revenue grant, which is our larger pot of funding. So that is for formal groups of up to £30,000. We normally have two rounds per year. And they tend to last a wee bit longer than just a small project, and they're normally linked to our priorities that we set. And then we also have our capital fund. So this is for capital projects that would benefit the community. So that could be shaping a park, helping with a community centre, and we take applications from community groups and residents, so it's quite open. So, the Your Neighbourhood grant. So this is only just launched for our councillors, and we're looking for projects that will support physical improvements in the area. So that might be for our war memorials, historical interest, maybe some benches, improvements to community infrastructure. So maybe some support around community centres, maybe equipment for youth centres, youth provisions, and maybe some basketball stuff, things like that. Activities that involve the community, improving the environment, so maybe litter picks, community planting events. And our last one is community art installations and exhibitions. So you might have an art project, so maybe a photography project that's involved the community and you want to showcase it. Now we're taking our applications on a rolling basis. They have to come from your ward councillor. So if you have an idea, speak to your ward councillor and the application can come in from them. We are taking, the closing date is the Friday, the 12th of January. Now you're probably thinking, that's ages away, but it will come around really, really quickly. I can take some questions once I've...
Just a quick one, Michelle. Do you remember how successful Beer was after 6 years ago? Because we got a lot of funding from the council and raised a lot of, to function.
So I'm just about to move on to the small grants, which, you know, can support groups like that as well. So, you read my mind, Jim. So our small grants. So this is for small groups, groups of residents, so you can apply for up to £1,000. If you are running a one-off event, it is up to £500. So we're looking for projects, you know, about green and the environment, health and well-being, community engagement, projects for our housing tenants. Again, we are taking these on a rolling basis up until March next year. So if you have an idea, you can apply as a group of residents. You don't need to be formal. We just need 6 supporting signatures. Or if you are a formal group, you can just apply as well. Our next pot of funding, which is our revenue fund. So this is a larger pot of funding which tends to be longer projects of up to £30,000. And we change our priorities every round. So we normally have 2 rounds per year. So this round, which we closed just recently, and we had 29 applications, and we're hoping for a decision mid-July, so we will keep you updated with that. But the priorities were around a greener Hounslow, so supporting food projects and the circular economy, a healthier Hounslow by strengthening social connections and supporting independent living, a thriving Hounslow by supporting community through employability and skills, a safer Hounslow by keeping young people safe, and a livable Hounslow by building resilience for our tenants. So we do plan to launch our round 2 sometime in September, and we will have different priorities, but again, we will keep you updated with that. And our capital grants. So this is slightly different to all our other grants because it's a 2-stage process. So ideas can come in from residents, voluntary groups, community groups for an expression of interest. So we take that on, we assess it to see, you know, is it a good idea? Is it feasible? Whose responsibility is it? Because sometimes it's the council's responsibility. So you might have an idea for a park, but we don't expect residents to go start digging up, you know, swings and putting in swings. That would be the park's responsibility. So we'd be working with them. If the idea, we're thinking, oh, this is a really good idea, we would encourage a full application, and we would either ask the residents to work with the council team or the organisation to complete the full application then as well. So the projects that we have funded recently within this ward, so we've recently awarded funding to Heston Community Centre to improvements to the centre. So that has come from the local neighbourhood SIL funding, so that element, so just over £79,000. We funded last year Sea Change West London from our revenue grant of £25,000 for a project to support young people. And we have also supported a group of residents. We've awarded them £1,000 through our small grants to help with weekly coffee mornings to help reduce social isolation and to improve health and well-being. So, what next? If you have an idea, talk to us. You can see my details up there. So I'm Michelle Hutchinson. You can see my email and my phone number, and I also have a colleague, Kate Wilson, who does the same job as myself, and she's also available to talk with your ideas, think about what you want. We're happy to come out and visit. So if you do want us to have a chat, please contact us, phone us. You can also go on the website as well for any other support. So thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much for that. Same thing, two-tier. Firstly, whether any members here have any questions on the report that's been presented? Nope. I'll open the floor now to residents. Should you have any questions that you wish to ask? And I've got a hand up over there in that left-hand corner.
Sorry for hogging. This is number 3, but Michelle was very instrumental some years ago, Michelle. I'm showing my years and so are you. But Brabazon Estate Residents Association was formed with special grants obtained by our then chairperson. At the moment, I'm acting treasurer of BERA, and we've got a small amount of money in our bank. But I did write to Shantanu, the leader of the council, and he's interested in promoting BERA again. Thank you.
Thank you. I can pass you on my details. I think we've got your details, but I'll give you my leaflet with all our contact details on. So if you do want to discuss a small grant, more than happy to help.
Okay, I think there are no further questions on this item on the agenda, so we're going to move on to another vital area of council services regarding the street scene, and it's under agenda item number 4, titled Hounslow Highways Presentation. I hope you find this interesting.
Hello. Ooh. Tim Hurley from Hounslow Highways.
I'm Sabil Khan. I'm the client side from the council for the PFI contract.
So I've got a presentation. It covers quite a few things. It's just to give a brief overview of kind of who we are and what we do, and hopefully a lot of you already know, and to cover some key issues. Towards the end of the presentation, we've obviously got cleansing and weed removal, which I know will come up. So if you can just let me run through the slides super quick, and that'll probably give a bit more time for questions at the end. Okay? So there you go. Network conditions. So Hounslow Highways have been here since January the 1st, 2013. Key part of what we do, although a lot of our interaction with residents is about cleansing and green assets, it's actually about carriageway and footway condition. So the graph here is simply giving an indication about where we are. We had a target in the contract to hit following 5 years of investment of around £100 million, which renewed probably around 60% of the carriageways and 40% of the footways. So there's a core investment period for the first 5 years where the condition improves, and then we have ongoing investment on an annual basis, which we'll see. The overall result of this was to take Hounslow from the worst quartile in London for footway and carriageway condition to actually the top in London, and it's been in the top 2 actually for the last 5 years or so. Thank you. We appreciate that there's probably a desire that we resurface a lot more footways and carriageways, but like most organisations, we have a budget that we have to work to, which we do, and it's based upon annual condition surveys and understanding when's the best time to invest in that footway or carriageway. But there are defects that happen through the year, and we have our Fix My Street site, which we encourage people to report things through. We will then go out and inspect that if you report it through to us. But we also have our own inspectors out there doing routine safety inspections, and on that, they're raising around 78% of all the defects that we get. But we won't always see everything, and because some of those inspections are annual, you may see something before we do. So we do encourage you to report it to us, because that's what the website's for, and essentially we can then go out and decide when to prioritise it. This is some of the schemes in the last year that we've been doing. So I'm not going to list them all out. You can read them. But essentially, we have the resurfacing program, which is based upon understanding when to invest in the network. And then we have different treatment types. So sometimes it's a full resurface. Sometimes it's what we call a panel repair, which is the Vicarage Farm Road, where we won't do the whole road. We'll do the bit that needs doing. And then we have other schemes. So, for example, the Heston Community Centre, where we renew the footway after the main building. Which is lovely. It's not the kind of thing we always do, because it's always about the footway and the carriageway, and it's nice to actually help improve something that's for the community as well. Just an example of one of the schemes that we had there is the Heston Road and Sonia Gardens, which is carriageway resurfacing. So when we resurface, we're obviously doing the lining as well. We have our website, so something we've been looking at is how many inquiries we get a year. So I think when we started this contract, we got around 18,000 inquiries a year, and we went up year on year, which is good. Our website is easier to report to now with Fix My Street, with the app. So actually we're finding that we're getting more inquiries partly because it's easier to contact us, which actually is a good thing to do. What we saw though was we had what we call a COVID blip. So we were going up to around 43,000 inquiries, and then we went down to 40,000 in 2021, 22. And a lot of that was to do with the changes in essentially people's priorities during COVID. We're now seeing that go up again. We did see in all of the Heston and Cranford wards a drop in that period, and interestingly an increase in some other areas. But we now are seeing it kind of even out back to around 45,000 this year. It's important for us to not just have an inquiry come through, sorry, but to understand where the trends are, what's happening. Every inquiry that is reported to us is important, but when we look at that holistically, we can see where the trends are. Where's fly tipping going up, or graffiti? Kind of where are the multiple defects being reported on a road, so that when we look at that resurfacing program, we can not just look at the surveys, but actually look at what people are telling us. And then just for the area forum for Heston and Cranford, you can see here just kind of an even understanding of what's getting reported. So it's about a fifth of what's coming through. It's a very high level understanding of what we look at, and it's around 17% of all inquiries received. If we look at those inquiries though, I guess a prominent thing is fly tipping. So we have seen, and this is for borough-wide, and you can see here the blue column is fly tips reported, and the red is pretty much everything else. You can see through that first 10 years or so, the proportion of fly tips being reported increased. Doesn't necessarily mean there was more fly tipping. It could mean that it was easier to report fly tipping. It does link in with certain changes in services. So for example, the move to 2 weekly collection, the introduction of the bins and recycling, we did see some fly tipping increase, but we did then see it even off again. Fly tipping is a blight. It's not the kind of thing that people want to see. And a lot of it's about behaviours. It's about people understanding that there is a waste stream. It's just sometimes a little bit more effort to use it. The problem is every time there's a fly tip reported, we then have to go and do that. And every time we have to go and do a reactive fly tip removal, which is 24 hours, we're probably not spending time doing the other things that's important to residents. We want to be doing more proactive cleansing, staining removal, weed removal. So fly tipping for us is a challenge, because it's about how it distracts us in terms of the resources that we have.
Thank you. Just one slide from me on enforcement. So obviously Hounslow Highways do all the clearance on all reported fly tips. But we have a very small team of, it should be 4 officers, it's currently 2. They do dedicated fly tipping enforcement across the borough. So not just in Heston and Cranford, but also in Hounslow, Chiswick, Feltham as well. There's some figures there since November 22 of specific enforcement done in the Heston and Cranford wards. It may not seem like much, 63 in about 6 months, but effectively that's our guys going through each of those black bags that you probably drive past, trying to find the evidence, tying it back to a property and an individual. Their modus operandi is engage, educate, and then enforce. So that's the numbers of enforcement that we've done in this area forum.
Okay, back to me. So just a bit more detail on that fly tipping. So you can see here that Heston and Cranford is the second highest area for fly tipping that we have. Highest is actually the central Hounslow area, so Hounslow Central, Hounslow Heath, Hounslow West around there. Big part, I guess, of the fly tipping is where you have high density populations, maybe lower car ownership, so people don't find it as easy to get to places like Spaceway and Transport Avenue. It's important that we recognise that a lot of fly tipping is, like I say, it's about behaviours. It's also about education. Some people don't always know the best thing to do. A lot of people put excess waste around waste bins, in waste bins, which is a problem because it fills it. We need to keep working on this because, like I say, every fly tip out there is distracting us from something else that we need to do. So we are asking for your support in ensuring that people understand what the right thing to do is with their waste. Encourage more recycling, which is obviously better for the environment. And it's also that sense about an area. If you see a lot of fly tipping in an area, it gives you a sense that maybe it's not well maintained or not cared for, which I don't think is true. I think it's just a question of people maybe understanding the right way to do things. Those that don't, that's where the Bill's team come in. You know, let's catch them and re-educate them, maybe with a financial penalty as well. I wanted to put this graph up because although we don't have a massive reported issue, so if you could wait till the end and then we can take some questions. Thank you. Graffiti is a particular problem over the last 2 years or so. Kind of increased as we went through COVID, but again, it's one of those things, it's easier to report now with our app, so we probably just get a lot more reported. There's a lot more out there than what we see. Beginning of the contract, we were probably doing around 300 graffiti inquiries a year. Now we're doing 300 a month. So you can imagine the strain on our resources that causes. There is nothing wrong with people reporting graffiti to us. Same thing, people care about their area, they want it gone. If you keep removing graffiti, you generally find that it comes back less. And we've found there's very prominent examples. So when we did the Queen's funeral procession through Hounslow, which came straight through Heston and Cranford on the A4, we had extensive graffiti removal on sections of that. And we were actually out there removing it, and within 8 hours, it's back again. And we had to do that 3-4 nights in a row. But we did then find, actually, for a good 6 weeks or so, it stayed off. So I think it's, again, about prioritising the resource, working with businesses who have a responsibility to remove their own graffiti, and working with residents who maybe don't have that resource and just need a little bit of help. But it is another one of those things. Again, you know, resources are what they are. We can't just keep putting more resource into everything. We have to balance that off and maybe move resources from somewhere else. Just one more slide on graffiti there, which is just showing the split. So you can see Heston Cranford, very low reported graffiti in the last 10 years or so. That probably does not reflect what you see where you live. So this is a question of reporting it. I'm not discouraging nor encouraging the reporting of graffiti. It's something that we work together on. So we were looking at special projects in locations, specifically Osley Tube Station and Muller's Roundabout and a few other subways. We actually, rather than keep going removing graffiti, we're putting up murals. We're working with Transport for London, the Hounslow Council and resident associations to change the area, work with schools, put into a mural that will have more affinity with the population, discourage graffiti in that location. So, on to cleansing. Decleanse, so some of you know, is a new project that we introduced about 2-3 years ago. And the idea is we put in a full parking suspension for the road with the idea that we can get into cleaning the channel. Our biggest issue with cleaning things like detritus and litter in roads is parked cars. So if we get the cars off that road, get a mechanical sweeper in and get a nice clean. And especially with the weeding as it is now, we can get operatives in to help hoe out those weeds for the sweeper to clear it up. But we can also use the opportunity of owning that road space, put a gully cleanser in, clean all the drains, which you need to do every 2 years or so, repaint some of the lines that may need doing, and look at overhanging vegetation. So I guess we're just asking for your support. It can be disruptive if you're on one of these roads. I think everybody likes their road being cleaned. They just may not like the disruption that goes with it. But it is in an effort to allow us to improve the quality of cleaning, improve the speed and quantity of cleansing that way. Like I say, it can be a little bit disruptive if people have specific issues. in terms of needs or disabilities, they can contact us, and we will work around that. That's fine. But we do need people's support in helping make this happen. A few other things we've been doing now, and this kind of leads into the weeding program. We've increased our resource significantly. So we have 17 main stroke high priority routes, which includes, for example, Cranford High Street, Vicarage Farm Road. And we've added another 5 operatives to that route in the last 3 weeks. The idea of that is we're double manning those routes so that we can give additional resource to help remove weeds on the network. Weed removal is manual in Hounslow and has been for 3 years. We don't use chemicals for very good environmental reasons, but it makes it slower to remove. The only feasible way we've found of doing that across a borough is more resource, more people out there supporting each other, hoeing out the weed, removing the root to avoid that grow back that we have. So adding in more resources done that. We've also added in additional timings for our main centre routes, town centre routes. So I've increased the length they're out there. Over the last 10 years, we've seen rightly Hounslow change as more businesses, shops, restaurants, etc. have opened up. But that means the regime we probably had before of running, say, from 8 till 5 isn't sufficient. Shops are open later now. Coffee shops are open earlier. So we need people on the network longer. So we have, for the next 3 months, extended those routes out to give a couple of extra hours. Also looking at long-term plans to extend cleansing in high streets out to later, to 8, 9 o'clock at night, which is something we're working on. So we do appreciate when you go to a town centre at night, it may not look perfect. We recognise that, but again, we've got to think about how we do that together. On to weed growth. So after 3 years of being glyphosate-free, we've learned some lessons. We have tried pretty much everything. We have worked with a number of London boroughs. We've worked with the Pesticide Action UK to see what alternatives there are to chemicals. The reality is nothing works as good as a chemical, but also the reality is that chemicals are bad. They're bad for biodiversity, they're bad for plant life, and they also have links to being bad for humans. So we just had to accept that we had to do it differently. And this is now down to more bodies on the ground. We've essentially quadrupled the number of people we have on weeding in the last 2 years, with the final tranche coming in about 2 weeks ago of another 22 operatives supporting that ward-based. On top of that, we have 315 roads, which are targeted through planned weeding removal, and another 200 or so roads that are being done on a de-cleanse. So with those additional operatives on the network, which is now around 40, we're confident that we will not remove all weeds immediately, but we have more resource to get on top of it quicker and to stay on top of it. You may have noticed that we've had environmental climate changes. We used to do weed removal from around April to September, and now we're doing it from February pretty much through to November. It is warmer, the climate is more supportive of weed growth, so we just have to accept that we're out there longer as well. So you may live on a road that still has weeds, and you may find it unacceptable. You can help us, if you wish, by removing weeds outside of your property, but rest assured we have put a lot more resource and financial planning into weed removal this year. Just a bit more update on what we've done. So we have a target that we're looking at for roads. We're exceeding that target, thankfully, with more operatives, and we plan to keep exceeding that. We are in the first week of being fully resourced for weed removal. And like I say, we've done other things. So we've got this additional 2 teams. So when we're in ward-based for our standard cleansing day, we've got an additional 11 operatives in that area just focusing on weed removal, but also sweeping out detritus. We've got additional 5 operatives on the mains and high-profile routes. We've extended those route times out as well. And also we're working together. So we brought horticulture in-house on the 1st of May, which was previously subcontracted. So that means we have the ability to find synergies between those teams and those operatives so that when we're cutting grass, we can do weed removal. We've also added 3 additional operatives to our grass cutting teams. We know the grass is long. We did no mow May, which was excellent, but it's taking longer to get round. It also means that long grass has trapped litter. So we have hired an additional 3 operatives to work with each of those grass cutting teams to litter pick it before and after the cut. There's nothing worse than cutting grass and a mower going through and shredding that litter so it goes all over the road. So again, we put that into our planning. We've recognised it by essentially investing more to make that happen. Then just onto grounds maintenance. Don't worry, nearly at the end, guys. We brought grass cutting in-house, all grass shrub maintenance in-house, including hedge removal, hedge cutting, basil and epicoric growth removal as well. We did this because we felt we could deliver the service better and we could make our teams work closer together on supporting each other. So, for example, when we're cutting that grass, we can send a mechanical sweeper down and get the grass out of the carriageway. We can also create career opportunities for our staff, so that someone that starts in cleansing can now look at a career in horticulture and may move into highways. We transferred over 8 staff, essentially, which is what was always on it, and we've now got 12, and we're going up to 16 shortly. So we recognise that the grass has not been cut in all the areas yet. We're running a couple of weeks behind. The no-mow May, and actually not cutting grass in April, means that the grass is a lot tougher to get through. So rather than before they would do one cut, they're having to go over that same grass 3 times. So it's just taking a lot longer. But once we get through that first cut, it'll be a lot easier to maintain. We also planted another 270 replacement trees last year, on top of another 200 Hounslow trees, and some of those were in the area. So Summerhouse Avenue, I think, was one of them. Westway, where we chose to plant a number of trees in the same road to give that avenue feel. Good news is there's another 200 coming this year. We've also again increased our resource with our in-house horticulture team. We've introduced another gang of 2 people dedicated to tree watering to ensure that we're on top of tree watering through the summer. On top of that, we're also now ensured that since last year we're putting in tree root barriers and tree bags to help support the tree with more water, but also to avoid tree root growth going into the footway. Last 2 slides. So special things we do, and this is actually the best bit of the job. Working on, for example, the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, the King's coronation, and sadly the Queen's funeral. It wasn't just us, it was a huge team across the council, but also the residents. And the things where we took the opportunity not just of being there, but of working a couple of weeks of planning in advance. A lot of night works going on during all of those 3. And a lot of support for residents. 43 street parties for the King's coronation. I think it was around 81 street parties for 74, sorry, for the Queen's Jubilee. Feedback from our staff when they do those kind of events is how wonderful it feels to be part of the community when they're doing that. A key part of that is the partnerships that we have. So HAG and CAG are, I can't express enough how great they are. So again, one of my operatives on the network being approached by someone from HAG or CAG, or seeing volunteers from the community that may not just be a Heston Action Group or Cranford Action Group, helping them keep the area clean is a great boon. It's a great motivator for the people on the network. Also, they put a lot of thought into things around the green campaigns, the tree hub, and various other sites. We work closely with them on where we can improve areas. And then just a few of those. So, for example, Hounslow Citizens Scheme, which starts next week. Grasshoppers.
Where's the grasshoppers?
And then next week here at Cranford Community College is obviously Spring Clean, which again, HAG and CAG did so much more on. And then we did some improvement works in the area at Kingswood Terrace and North Hyde Lane, where we took disused, abandoned amenity areas and we brought them back into use. And I hope you've seen those areas. It's not only reduced littering and fly tipping, but it's allowed the community to enjoy those areas more. There's also another one coming up with Cranford Action Group at Park Lane. We're looking at regenerating the Park Lane area, some of the railing and planting some additional trees. And then we have other things, the Structures Inspections Programme, which is all the footbridges and the road bridges that we work on. We also have lay assessors, which are from Cranford and Heston, which work with us on a monthly basis to help us understand the issues in their areas. And then there's all the other events, the numerous litter picks that residents undertake.
Right, that was a whistle-stop tour through the activities of Hounslow Highway. So I'm going to ask members if there's any questions on the report, and then I'm going to move over to the residents. So members first, I've got Amrit and then Emma.
Okay. You paint a very glossy picture of what Hounslow Highways does, but I'm afraid my experience with Hounslow Highways has been very negative. For the last 3 years, we've been complaining about the lack of planting of trees and the removal of dead trees. We've had Shabil come down. We've also had the lead member, Guy Lambert, come down, and lots of other people do a ward walkabout, and it's come to nothing other than one stump that was being removed on Clunbury Avenue. I think it's outside number 27 near the park gates. They'd come around and they'd chop the tree branches, dead tree branches, but the stump had been left, and the stump was left for about a year before the intervention by Guy Lambert. Councillor Lambert was the lead member. I'm not sure whether he still is, for the environment. The reality is that all these award walkabouts have amounted to nothing, because they've been a waste of 2-3 hours of each of councillors' times, because we've gone around Craneswater Park, all the trees that were taken out, they should have been replaced, they were never replaced. Crosslands Avenues, all the trees that were taken out were never replaced. All the trees that were replaced have now died as a result of the subcontractors that have been taken up by Hounslow Highways, who have taken on this fetish of sitting on a motorized mower and then running it around like a go-kart, and they've taken a box at the base of all these saplings, and these saplings have subsequently died. And the reason why I know that is it took me 13 years outside my house, and I live at 26 Crosslands Avenue, right? And that tree took me 13 years to get it planted there, because I love trees, unlike other people. And it took Hounslow Highways less than 3 to kill that. And it's still there, and it's been up there for 3 years. And I reported this. I reported to members' casework. Yeah, nothing has happened. The tree is still standing there, right? So the reality is, I think Hounslow Highways buries their head in the sand and don't replant the trees. So once it gets over a certain period, they're no longer responsible for that tree. And my worry is that once these are run out of the contract, you will no longer say, oh, we haven't got a record, because that's what you've been saying. We haven't got a record of this tree. Well, you wouldn't have a record of this tree because nobody's come and maintained it. All the saplings that have been planted around the area, they've not had water and they've died, right? So who is responsible? Because obviously under the PFI contract, we've technically paid you for those trees, but we're just not getting those trees back. Right? So that's my first gripe. The second one is about this leaving the grass on the verges. It's all very well to say we don't use chemicals, and you know I don't want to use chemicals, but the downside of it is on Monday the 12th of June in West Middlesex Hospital, there were 250 kids that were taken in to accident emergency acute care because they couldn't breathe as a result of all the pollen and stuff, which is, as the grass has been left uncut, the grass is producing all this pollen. And they had one doctor in accident emergency. And I met the mayor of Hounslow. And I said, you know, we're the small people, but you as a big person, what are you doing here? And he said, I've been waiting for 7.5 hours. That was at 10 o'clock. I left out of there at 4:30 in the morning, right? So it's all well to say, you know, we're leaving it as meadows, we're saving the environment. The kids, the doctor, that one doctor, he didn't have time to investigate every single child. They were giving out inhalers, and steroid was called inhalers, like confetti. The first kid that walks in, here it is, you get on this program, you take 10 puffs of this, you take another 10 puffs of another one, you leave it for an hour, then you go and do it again, you can do it again. They will only release you after the first set of inhalers have been done for 3.5 hours, right? Kids were coming in after 2 hours wait for an ambulance and then waiting another 4 to 5 hours for it to be seen by a doctor. Now, this is the downside, the reality of what is happening. I've asked people, you know, from my ward to come in because everybody's coming around my house saying, who's going to cut the grass? And I said, I would cut my grass. I would. The reason why I don't do it is because everybody's going to say, Councillor Amrit Mann, as a councillor, influenced the people to have his grass cut, but he hasn't bothered to cut ours. right? I've weeded the outside of my house, right, to help you guys, because I've given up on waiting for people to come around weeding. Yet on Jersey Road and Scion Lane, they've done that road twice. My road, I've had to put shame by putting it onto a Labour social group, all the pictures, to get people to move, and it's only been done once. Right, so the lot of resources have been taken out. It's a shame Councillor Rajawat is not here, because I have had a private discussion with him, is that in Heston and Cranford, we are not getting the resources that we wish to have. And the residents I represent are paying their taxes equally as the rest of the borough, but we're just not getting the services. And Hounslow Highways, I'm afraid, is failing for me. It's failing my residents, and that's why I'm putting you to task. Thank you.
Okay. So, if I may, so we are here to listen, and this is why we're here, just to get your opinions. Couple of things there, Councillor. So, just regarding the trees, to set this straight, when we signed the contract, there was a contract tree limit, which was allowed 11,634, roughly. The contract says we must maintain that number of trees. The contract says if we remove a tree, we must plant one. In addition to that, we planted, on behalf of the council, probably an additional 400 trees, and we planted another 150 on behalf of Hounslow Highways. So there is nothing in here saying that if a tree comes out, dies, we will not replant it. We have to. And there is a contract with very strict stipulations on that. So if we plant a tree and it dies, guess what? We've got to go back and replant it. We've got to ensure that we re-water it. We've got to maintain that period. And that first 18 months is crucial for a tree, because that's when it needs the most water. Again, environmental conditions have not been in our favour. It has been very hot year on year on year, which is why we put out requests for support on watering trees near your area if you can. But also we've invested additional resources and costs, which we know we do not get any more money for this. We get a set amount of money to do it, and that's what we do. In addition to that, we're actually maintaining 1,000 trees more than what was in the contract, because we spent a lot on improving the inventory and understand what's out there. And we've done that for the last 10 years because that's the right thing to do, and we're discussing it with the council. So there is nothing there where if a tree is removed, it benefits in any way. We have to replant it. Okay. If a tree is removed because it's dead, dying, diseased and dangerous, and that is the only reason we can do it, and we have to get permission from the council for each tree, we will try and replant within that same road where possible. Now, I know that wasn't always done in the past. I think there was a policy a few years ago about trying to even out the number of trees across the borough, but we've been very strict the last 2 years. We will replant in the same road. Regarding the grass cutting, I completely sympathise, and there's been a lot in the news about pollen counts, and I'm not going to go into the personal details of it with individuals, but again, climate change is having an effect on that. Obviously, not cutting the grass is not helping that situation. It is not the only cause of it. We are trying to get through the grass as quickly as possible. We do support No Mow May for different reasons. All I can do is express my sympathy and say we're trying to get around that grass as quickly as we can. Again, it's contractual. We have to cut the grass 12 times a year, so that's what we do. There is no saving for us in not doing it. If I can, sir, because your hand's been up for a while. Sorry, my apologies.
Any other members?
Sorry.
Emma.
Hi, can I just get a...
Sorry, if you don't mind, we'll come to you in a moment. I've registered your interest to speak. Councillor Sidhu.
Hi, can I just get a timetable on when Heston West grass cutting is going to be done, and also on when the trees are going to be cut back?
Grass cutting, first cut should normally take 3 to 4 weeks. It's going to take us 6 at this rate. Like I say, I brought in more resource. Mowers are the issue at the moment, so we're trying to get another mower in to have a 4th team out there. But actually, we've broken one mower because it's just the grass is so long. So 6 weeks, it should be the first week in July, possibly the 2nd, and that's across the whole borough. There is a team in East, West and Centre, so you have a dedicated resource working in your area. Tree pruning depends upon the tree, so the best thing there is to put an inquiry through FMS and ask for that road, because we are surveying the trees, but pruning the trees is different.
Okay, any other councillors? Councillor Karamat?
Could you just give us a rough time scale, how long will it take to cut the grass? Because I'm getting a lot of calls. People are getting, due to pollen, they're all ending in the hospital. And one of my residents, he was there 14 hours waiting to be seen by the doctor. Just give us a rough time scale, because I've been with the housing improvement officer all over the states. Their conditions are terrible. Please, we need to know the time scale.
Sorry, as I said, second week of July should be the latest. We are getting requests for this very reason to prioritise certain verges, and we're happy to take that and prioritise accordingly. So if there is an area where you feel that it needs to be cut for that reason, and especially if you can tell us because of allergies, we will prioritise that and do that quicker.
Okay, open to members of the public. Right, we'll start from the left and work our way around to the right. So, yes, him first. Yeah.
Well, it's very interesting what you've produced, but in my experience, and I've been living in a little bungalow since 1986, it was the London Borough Council we were dealing with in those days. Since then, the council have sublet here, there and everywhere. Hounslow Highways, in my road, in Johnson Road, they have a road sweeper. What happens? The middle of the road, and cars for people who have not been asked to move them. That's where the real dirt and dust is. I could ask more. Graffiti, for example. Someone put it on my bungalow, and I was asked to pay for it. I didn't pay for it because I was negotiated on my behalf. But the other thing I will say, what about the cycle lane in Cranford Lane that has been approved by council? That's as far as I know.
Next person. I think we'll just move on from
Good evening. Before I bring any issues, I would just like to ask Mr. Khan and his colleague. You know, Mr. Khan, we had a video conference before about Walnut Tree Road. Just to ask you, does this Hounslow Highways deal in road safety or just trees, weeds, grass or anything before I put my question up?
So I do recognise you from our conversations about Walnut Tree Road. Hounslow Highways are contracted to do highway maintenance. Road safety sits with our colleagues at Traffic and Transport, but I can take any comments today and take it back to them.
Right. There have been issues taken over since 2017. Mr. Lal, Mr. Mann, they're aware of it. They have had emails. We have attended 18 meetings, 6 in 2017, 18, 19. Then we had COVID meetings. These forums been postponed, cancelled, made from 6 to 4, 4 to 3, 3 to 5 to 7, whatever. It's been seeing you after a while now. I'm not putting you any more email or anything. If you got time, go back to your emails, or I'm bypassing this Hounslow Council now, just to let you know, and I'm taking up higher, because I've got enough evidence, not just for past 10 years. Mr. Dennis, who've left the street now, he sold his house, he's given me a bunch of file and papers this high, this pile, and the council have failed to deal with it. The vice chair, in a meeting in 2019 or 18, bringing up a London transport thing from 1962, that road, Heston Road, was not good enough for the builder merchants to use, so the residential road was used. We have had enough change from 1962 till 2023, and we're still talking 1962s. So anyway, I've got nothing to ask you, nothing to request you, just to let you know. If you can dig back into your emails and sort something out, it's totally up to you, but I'm just bypassing the council very soon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments, which I noted, and I hope that they've been picked up. We are gradually moving into questions. We are gradually moving into questions other than the report that the officers presented. So we're really verging into an open forum. So, and we're also running out of time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to indulge, if the officers don't mind just sitting there, just in case there are questions pertinent to yourself. But I'm going to open up the open forum at the same time. But try and keep your questions to the officers first, and then maybe open forum questions. So moving across, as I said, the room, it's that gentleman there.
I've lived in the area for 60 years. I live on the Brabazon estate. The grass has never been so long. In 60 years, I've never known it to be so long. The grass is at least 14 inches long. It's growing into my car. And when it dries out, if somebody drops a match, all the cars are going to be set on fire because the grass is so long. It's a danger to everybody. I want to know why, in 60 years, after 60 years, why all of a sudden are you not cutting the grass earlier? Why did you let it get so long? Why did you let it get so long? All around the Brabazon estate, we were in danger of somebody lighting a cigarette and chucking it on there, and it would, if it set fire to all that dry grass, all the grass had grown onto the sides of the cars.
Okay, I think we've got an idea of your question. Let the officer answer it.
My question is, why have you delayed cutting the grass so long?
Yeah, the officer's already answered that question in his presentation, but I'll give him another opportunity.
Well, what was the answer?
So,
why was it left so long?
A couple of factors.
They've only just cut. What is it now, June? You've only just started cutting it. In 60 years, I've never known the grass not to be
Please
cut.
allow him to answer your question.
If I can, sir. So Brabazon normally would take half a day to cut. This time it's taken us 3 days. So it's taking longer. So the reason you're seeing grass out there still is it's taking longer to get around the grass. It's taking literally 3 times as long because it's that long. So then the question is, okay, why did you let it get so long? Yep. So No Mow May is something that we supported this year. It's the first time we've done it, along with a number of other councils across the country, including neighbouring councils and TfL. The decision was taken not to cut grass in May. And the idea of that is to support biodiversity. It bridges a gap, essentially, between seasons for local wildlife. Now, and, well, if I can, and
Sorry, sir, that does not put the public in danger. If somebody dropped a match, it would have burnt all the cars along Brabazon Road.
so there are lessons we've learned. This is the first year we've done it, along with a lot of other councils. So you asked me to respond, if I can, please. Next year, we will be doing this differently. So we'll be cutting sections around verges. So a wider verge will cut the first metre or so, and the smaller ones will cut the first half metre. Part of that is to say to people, we're not ignoring it, because I think people did think we were doing it to save money. We weren't. There was no money saving. Also, it will make it easier to get around that cut. Okay. The other factor is essentially global warming. The grass is growing quicker. But it was No Mow May that was probably the biggest issue. And like I said, I think we've learned from that as we go into next year. Like I said, we brought in another crew. We brought the service in-house. We won't have these issues next year in the same way.
Right. I need to correct myself. There was a last-minute addition to the agenda, which I failed to pick up. And if you just allow me, I would like to give them an opportunity to do their presentation, then we'll come back to the open forum. So can I ask the officers who want to represent the Heston Repair Initiative?
Got it. I don't like the mics. Good evening. We're here to announce a new initiative. I'm going to stand over here so you can see the screen. It's the Heston Repair Cafe. I'm not going to stand over there because I'll get feedback. Yeah, I'll stand over here. We are all local residents. Satish and Tom are from Heston. Some of you probably know them because they're part of Heston Action Group. I'm over from the border in Cranford. We're really trying to help everyone, the local residents, to try and save money and to try and learn new skills as well as having an impact on the environment. And we're trying to do that by repairing items rather than putting them into landfill and going out to buy a new one. So we're here to announce the first launch event, which is going to be held, as you can see, on the 1st of July, which is in 10 days' time, roughly 9 days' time, Saturday week, 11 o'clock in the morning at the Heston Community Centre. Broadly, what we're trying to do is, on this occasion, the launch event, we're going to repair specific items, bicycles, small electricals, and clothing for minor repairs, okay? And as I said, Saturday, the 1st of July, 11 o'clock in the morning at the Heston Community Centre. I'm sure you all know where it is. We're helping you to repair clothing, small electrical items, and bicycles. And also to be able to learn from the experienced repairers, the experts and the specialists we're going to bring down, how to repair them yourself next time, and also how to teach others. It's one item per category on the day, on a first-come, first-served basis, and we're going to try and do that for all three categories. If you can bring one item, that'd be great. If we have more time, we will try and look at them, but broadly, that's what we're going to try and do. We're also going to have donation points with our partners from trade, who are basically going to collect clothing and electrical items, which are beyond repair. So things that you feel cannot be repaired, these are given to trade, they process them, and then basically they put them into their shops. But they will stop things going directly to landfill, and that's the key point of what we're trying to achieve. Please do email us if you'd like to get more information or if you'd like to volunteer. So as we said, and I think Satish is here to tell us all about what he's going to bring on the day. He's not going to bring on the day?
Well, I've already bought it because what you can see here in what I'm wearing, I'm not usually this fashion conscious, but everything I'm wearing here now has been upcycled. So my shirt it doesn't look like it, right? It's actually my old shirt, I've upcycled into a round collar shirt. And one or two people guessed what the actual change was. Well done. And then same thing with my running trousers and my trainers, which I resold. And how's that helped me? Well, I've saved money in terms of having to go out and buy new stuff, but also saved the environment in terms of junking some of this and ending up in landfills and so on. So we'd encourage more people to do that. We have the ability. We can train people. We can help you fix these things. And come on, encourage everybody else to turn up on the first one. And if that's a success, we'll have more. But we want you guys out there bringing stuff so that the first one is a success. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. We haven't finished yet. Just one more slide. So just to make sure, it's a repair cafe. We will have some refreshments, teas and coffees on the day. These are free of charge, courtesy of our good friends, the Borough of Hounslow Council, part of the Heston in the Loop initiative. We also have other partners as well as trade who are going to be looking after the clothing and electrical donations. We have the Restart Project, and we have London Bike Hub who will be doing the bikes. I think Satish is going to bring his bicycle, his biking jacket, he's got plenty of things, so he always keeps us busy. If you do bring children to the event, please do keep them under supervision. Tom here is very, very keen on health and safety, and that's one of the things that we're trying to make sure is that it's a successful event and everyone's happy at the end of the day. So, last thing, 1st of July, put it in your diary, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbours. 1st of July, 11 o'clock in the morning, it'll hopefully last 2.5 hours. And what we're trying to do at Heston Community Centre. And if you can volunteer, if you've got skills that you can transfer to other people, if you can be just admin on the day, then that would be great. It's a community event, so come down and support the local community and support your own initiative. So reducing consumption, getting things repaired. You may have your favourite shoes, as some people like. You may have your favourite shirt or your favourite jacket that needs a new zip. I'm not sure what Tom's bringing. But please do come down and support it. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much, the Repair Cafe in Heston, and I hope you every success with that initiative. Right, coming back to the open forum now, so we'll go from left to right again. Where's the roving mic person? Oh, there you go. So can I have this lady in the blue, please?
Hi, I live on the Norman Crescent. 3 years ago, one of the properties caught fire to myself, which took out a number of properties in our masonette blocks. I moved back into my property after it had been renovated back in February of last year. So that is how long the above masonettes to me, 3 of them, have been vacant and are empty. Now, mine aren't the only block that have got that amount of properties vacant on there. Why are they not being reused? Is it because they're planning to take the estate down?
Councillor Kermit Malik, I think he's got some...
I can answer that. I have taken this matter up already, and I have taken it to the scrutiny committee. Hopefully, they should give me answer within the next 4 weeks. That's not only there. We've got Convent Way, and we've got 3 states, and we have a lot of flats which I have spotted empty.
Part of the regeneration scheme, wasn't it? But I don't think that's really happened. I think Convent Way started, but I don't think that it's been finished at all. I'm not sure on that, though.
We'll find out an update, hopefully, within the next forum.
Okay, so moving around to... Okay, the lady in the green, and then just here, just behind Councillor Butt.
I just wanted to say that I applaud the council for its climate initiative. As much as I don't like the grass, I also value the climate approach a lot. A couple of things, though. I was taking a bus from the bus stop, the range of bus stops outside the council house, and there was only 1 bin and a lot of litter around the bottom. I mean, with 4 or 5 bus stops there, surely you'd need more than 1 bin. And number 2, I like the idea of community getting involved and helping other people so that we form a group, helping each other. And I would like to have someone helping with litter picking. It's really too much for 1 or 2 people to do, or even for the voluntary groups to do once a month, or even once. We need more, really. And I'd like the council to have some more community initiatives, please. Thank you.
Okay, noted, thank you. In terms of the bin, so first port of call, I think if you can just liaise with your local councillor, maybe he can flag it up and see why the additional bins cannot be put on that particular site in question, all right? In terms of community engagement, yes, it's a slow burn, litter picking and all the rest of it, but it's happening slowly, and hopefully it'll gain momentum in due course. And thank you for your interest in participating in that. Coming over to my right now, so I think the chap in the blue checked shirt.
Thank you, Councillor Lal. My name is Shafiq, resident of Cranford, and also I do get involved very much with the Cranford Action Group. Thank you for taking my question, but I'm a bit disappointed because I would have rather put my comment or question to highways because it's fly tipping and it is one of the items they presented. Now, I would say, it's very disheartening to hear that Cranford is one of the highest fly tipping areas. My observation tells me it could have been a coincidence that ever since Spaceways, after COVID, having come with these restrictions of having specific slots, specific time, online, computer, all these classical different kind of methods of disposing of rubbish and of all kinds. Now, it could have been a coincidence that ever since been happening, we seem to be having more fly tipping. I can only hope we could reverse this arrangement back to what it was or what they were prior to COVID. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question, and I do apologise for not giving you the opportunity when the officers were present to put that to them. So I do apologise for that. In terms of the issues about fly tipping in Cranford, again, it's quite alarming the amount of fly tipping that's going on. But you saw from the officers' presentation that in terms of the council, they are bending over backwards to try and eliminate the issue and trying to catch the culprits. But there are limits to what we can do as a council because we're also looking for behaviour change in our residents. And that is an ongoing battle. In terms of Spaceway, yes, I do agree. Perhaps the issue about having to book slots may have been a factor affecting more flight tipping, but it's very speculative, so I'm not going to make any judgment either way. And maybe we can pick this up at the next forum. Now I need to move on, so I've got a question. The chap in the red check shirt, and then in the green T-shirt, and then Tony over there.
Thank you, Brian Smith, and I'm also very proud to be a hag. And can I start off with complimenting Councillor Mann and say that I can also witness what he says. I've also had a tree taken down outside my property that hasn't been replaced. But to the point, okay? The point is threefold, okay? It is car noise, and the third point is nitrous oxide. Where we live, we are constantly disturbed during the night by cars, by the noise that those cars make with defective silencers. And being a hag, I do a bit of litter picking, and I've actually picked up 8 of these cylinders of nitrous oxide. And I've also witnessed one of the cars with a balloon inside it, I would suggest the driver and the passenger using the nitrous oxide. Can I ask what the council intends doing about those issues, please?
Wow, that's a really a difficult question because, again, alluding to what the previous question was about, issues like this require increased level of behaviour change by the people that are doing it. And clearly, I think that the council, apart from antisocial behaviour, etc., alluding from these events, is very limited in the powers that it does have. But I'm more than willing to look into it a little bit further. If you can give me the location of this activity and see if we can get some further information about it. Next person in the green T-shirt.
Hi, sir. It's me. My bike was broken down a very long time, so I have to bring my. Can I bring my bike as well with me on 1st of July?
We actually do have the Heston Cafe repair team. We've got a resident here who's got a broken bike and he'd like to bring it to your cafe on the 1st of July. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
They've affirmed, yeah.
You got the date?
Okay, good.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Tony, please.
Hi, yeah. The other issue that we've had on Heston Farm Estate regarding fly tipping is where people are actually breaking stuff down, which is the household goods, the big goods, and put them into the residential bins. That's something, again, that's happening not just on our estate, obviously, but that needs to be also be looked into, because then that fills up the bins and then blah, blah. So can somebody look into that to see if there's anything particularly, yes? And the other thing, just to say about this, there is actually a new law coming out for this, banning it and making it illegal. We've had this problem in the Heston Farm estate as well, where we've got the ages between 14 down to the age of 6, which get to witnesses, and the little bottles, where the little gas canister, silver ones, which Brenda, myself, and some of the others actually got the caretaking team, which are making a massive change. Where if you speak to Andrea Tidy from the council, she will update you on the following that, councillor, please. Especially for some of the areas, because she does an amazing job on how she cleans it up and reports it. If that can go to other estates, I think that would also help part of the issue.
Okay, Tony, that's very useful.
Thank you.
And I'll wait for you, the gentleman in the red check shirt to bring me the information about his site location. Okay, over to you.
Thank you. Two things. First of all, I want to apologise for losing my patience over the discussion in relation to the no mow may. I should not have done that. It is a very difficult issue for some people, but I fully support no mow may in terms of biodiversity. So apologies to the gentleman who was speaking about it. My point now, though, is a criticism, really. There is a telecommunication mast which is going up in Heston Road. The work started on that. We were surprised that has happened from Heston Action Group and indeed just local residents because we objected to it. There wasn't that construction was appealed, but the appeal was supported and the construction has now started. What I'm upset about is we received no communication at all from the council about the residents that complained about it. It would have been helpful for community relations and good relations generally to have received a letter from the relevant department saying that the appeal had gone through and the construction of the mast was proceeding. That didn't happen, and we were very disappointed it didn't happen. If that can occur, we will be very grateful that we can receive some explanation about it. There is, I know, a council publication describing the appeal and describing that the construction would take place, but nevertheless, some communication to the limited number of people that complained about its construction would be very helpful indeed. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. I think as normal protocol, Councillor Mann.
Chair, sorry, nothing to do with the previous question.
So can I just fire off?
Yeah, go on.
So on the mast, it's normal protocol that the telecom companies will write to each individual councillor to inform them that it's going up on their patch. As far as the wider consultation is concerned, I'm not too sure how far and wide the consultation occurs. Definitely, I don't think it includes community groups, but that doesn't mean that things can't change. So I've noted your issue, and I think it may be something that could happen, but it all depends on the legislation as to how far and wide the council needs to consult. Over to you.
Sorry, Chair. Yeah, it was just in relation to my previous questions to the Hounslow Highways individual and also Arshabil Khan. I did point out all the deficiencies. The only question I have for you, because you, myself, and Councillor Aksa, the councillors for Heston East, we did the walkabout and we've been chasing for 3-4 years. Could you please tell me when those works that we've been asking for have been done?
I'll make the necessary inquiries. Okay. Any further questions from members of the public? Looks like there's no further questions from members of the public in the open forum. Right, we need to go over the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of March 2023 for the councillors which are present. Are there any matters arising? Matters of accuracy? May I approve the minutes of the previous meeting? Yeah. Okay, minutes approved. Agenda item 7, the date of the next scheduled meeting is the 28th of September 2023. But also, before we end, this meeting. I'd just like to, I know she's not here, Councillor Harleen Atwell, but I would like to just give my vote of thanks for her service in the previous committee meetings, and I'm sure members would be in agreement with me to allow that to happen. Okay. Thank you very much for your attendance, and the hand's gone up from an officer at the back. Go ahead, what's up?
Just to say before you go, is there any chance you could do us some feedback? We'd really appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so feedback, if you can provide, that will help the officers size up the success of the forum today. Thank you. Meeting over.